today we are looking at Zenler's review for 2026. This is going to be an epic video. I'm going to show you everything that goes into creating a course in Zenler along with all its features and functionalities that I think are helpful for a course creator. With that, let's get started. All right, y'all, we have a lot to cover. Just to show you what we are going to cover today is this entire funnel. First, we are going to start with a marketing funnel. I'll build that out, show you a bunch of things while building a marketing funnel, which is the email automation, community, and tags. And a lot of this stuff applies across Zenler. It not only applies to funnels, it applies to live workshops, live webinars, and also courses. If I show you once, that just means that it applies throughout the entire Zenler school. Then we're going to look at courses. We will look at what the sales page looks like, then the checkout page, course access page, and then also setting up the course itself. We'll do that. And then I have noted some of the things here that I believe are important to learn if you want to know Zenler as a platform and how you can best get the return on your investment. And speaking of your investment, we'll also touch on pricing. That's to come towards the end, but these are all the things that we're going to cover. Let's get started. First thing we're going to do is build a marketing funnel. I'm going to do the lead magnet funnel, which is one of the most common funnels, but I'm also going to touch on those other two, which is the video funnel and the survey funnel. Then we will build our landing page for our lead magnet funnel. We'll build the thank you page, and then I'll build a bunch of these things, which is how do you tag, how do you run email automations, and how do you give them access to a community. All of this using just Zenler. I'm in my Zenler school, and here to create a marketing funnel, I am going to go to the marketing funnel tab. Now, based on your plan, you will have access to a specific number of funnels. I am on their pro plan. I have access to about 100 marketing funnels, I think. What we want to do is create a new funnel. Now, as we looked at that diagram earlier, there are three kinds of funnels. In Zenler, you can create a marketing funnel. This is your typical, someone wants a lead magnet. They give you an email. In return, you give them that set lead magnet, and then you send them a bunch of automated emails to sell them your course. Now, Zenler also has a video series funnel where you can unlock videos on each day of the funnel or whatever day you specify. And at the end of that video series, you again get to sell that specific course that leads them up from that funnel. And then newly launched and super awesome is their survey funnel. Now, we are not going to look at video series and survey funnel in this video, or this video will be 5 hours long. We will stick to the most commonly used funnel, which is the lead magnet funnel. Once you choose your funnel type, you can click on next. Here you will give your funnel a name. Then you can choose the download that you want to give them. I will highly recommend don't do this step, and I'll show you later why. And then if there's any course that should be launched at the end of the funnel sequence. For that, we're going to choose none. And then you can select your theme. There's a few pre-built themes to choose from. Now, these themes are completely customizable, which is what we are going to do. I'm just going to select this very basic theme. Now that my lead magnet funnel is ready, what I can do is I can add a bunch of pages here. But what you get out of the box is your opt-in page and your thank you page. And this is most likely what will be perfect if you're just starting out, or if you're just porting over your lead funnels from another marketing funnel software that you're using. This should be just fine. However, note that you can add extra steps to your funnel. I have my funnel landing page and my thank you page already built out of the box. Now, obviously out of the box, this is not going to be ready for prime time, and you can't just go live with it. You have to make tweaks to it, and that's what we're going to do now. First, I need to create my landing page marketing funnel copy. And since this funnel is about how to use ChatGPT for copywriting, we are going to do just that. And I'm going to ask ChatGPT to create the landing page copy for me. I put in a very simple basic prompt because the idea is not to show you ChatGPT prompting, but how to use Zenler. And what we're going to do next is once this is done, I will use this to design the page first in a different software. And this is my advice to you is use one of these pre-built softwares that are AI first, that are made for designing your funnel. And once you get happy with the design, then bring it into Zenler. Here's my hero section, subheadline, what they will learn, who it's for, authority, which would be kind of like your about me section, CTA, and then also footer text. Perfect. What I can do is take this and let's bring it into a software that is completely free to use and allows you to create designs for your landing page that you can then give it to your virtual assistant or do it yourself. I'm going to take this and I am going to bring it into Google's Stitch software. It's stitch.withgoogle.com, and here I can give it another prompt using what I already got from ChatGPT. All right, this is my prompt. Use the below landing page copy to design my lead magnet funnel landing page. And then I'll just clean up some of the stuff. So it's clear what I'm asking for. Like some of these words don't make sense, such as writing and inserts. Okay, our prompt is ready to rock and roll. Let's send this over to Google Stitch. And what Stitch does is it creates a web page outline for you, which you can then take into Zenler. Now, you will still have to recreate it step by step in the Zenler. But what we're going to do is we're going to try and see if this trick works, where I can take the HTML code for this page that's about to be created for us and then recode it in Zenler's HTML format, which is a little bit different than your traditional HTML language. Let's see if that's possible. If not, then I will build it from scratch. All right, here we have it. It took about a minute and a half to get our landing page up and running. And again, this is just a prototype, and Google has given us two variations. One is a much shorter form landing page, and then this is a little bit long form landing page. I actually like both of them. What we can do here is we can click on view code, and that shows us the HTML code for this. Now, what you could do is you could try to take that entire code and paste it inside your Zenler page. So if I hover over this in Zenler, I can go here to code and paste that entire thing in there. I'm going to add a new empty block and try to paste it to see what it looks like, that I don't override anything that's already in here. Now, I did not think it would work out of the box because Zenler doesn't take that raw HTML code. But what we're going to do is we can copy the Zenler code, paste it in ChatGPT, and ask it to take Google's HTML code and reformat it in Zenler's language. See if that works. What I've said is take the HTML code below and reformat it in Zenler's coding style. First, I'm going to give it the code that Stitch gave me, which is our HTML code. And now I'm going to provide it the Zenler code, which I got from this block, and paste it here. I don't know if ChatGPT will be able to do this. We'll give it a shot. For now, it looks like it's going to try to create it. Let's see if it actually works. This is the hero and opt-in section. I'm not going to do all the sections. If it gives me 5 different sections, let's just try one, see if it really works. ChatGPT has spit out a bunch of code. I have no clue if this is formatted for Zenler correctly. Let's give it a try and see what we get back. Okay, that's actually not bad. And it's formatted that I can click on it, I can play with it. That's really good. Let's go back to Stitch and see what this looks like. This one definitely looked way better. Let's just build this from scratch and see how far we can get, because Zenler's page builder is something you definitely want to learn how to use. Let's go and do that. I'm going to start adding some of the sections and show you step by step how I would do. To do that, I want to put this in preview mode. Let's go and do a desktop preview and we can make this. Now what that does is allows me to be interactive with it. It looks like we're going to need a few sections in Zenler. So first we need this header, then we have this call to action hero area, then we have this area here with 3 boxes, and then this one right here, and finally another call to action. I would say 1, 2, and a footer. About 6 sections, out of which 1 is a header and 1 is a footer. Let's start from scratch. I'm going to delete as many of these as possible, and then I'm going to click the plus here. On the left side, you can look at all the blocks or you can search for block. I'm going to search for header, and we are going to add a non-dynamic header right here. Let's delete this section now. And then after this header, I think we want to add a bunch of empty blocks I'm going to add 4 empty blocks, and then we have our footer. Perfect. I'm going to keep this window open on my second monitor. That way I can replicate this easier. All right, for our first section here, first thing I want to do is add a 2-column layout. And then on this left side, I want to add my text. On the right side, we'll add the image. And this is a shortcut that you can do. If we look back here, there is this image, then there is a background over it, and then there's this little text area that's kind of raised. Now to build this in Zenler would be a little bit difficult because you would need a 3-column layout. But what you can do is do a little bit of trickery and take a screenshot of all of that. That's the image with the little box, and put it on in one column. That's exactly what I'm going to do. I've already taken a screenshot. I'm going to upload it now. All right, here's my image. And when you upload it, you can either crop it and upload it, or you can say upload without crop. I've uploaded it, and just save me a headache of having the 2 extra columns and then trying to figure it all out. But what I do notice is that my mouse click is also in here. I can fix that later. At least now you know how it's done. And now on the left side, we can add our text. I'm going to go and add a heading, type this out. All right, once I've typed it out, I'm going to go to its settings. Then let's make sure that we left align it. And then also I want to remove the letter spacing, bring that to 0, and change the font color. Now I also want to bring this to the top of my column here. I'm going to select the column and change that vertical alignment to top. Perfect. Then I think this is bold, and this piece of text is a different color. Let's choose this green color here. And then this entire background has its own color, which is similar to this one here. I'm going to choose the entire background by clicking on settings, background color, and then you can give it a different color. And you can pick one that's closest to it. If you are using screenshots for this demonstration purposes, I don't need to get exact. I'm just going to leave it as this. Now next, there's some more paragraph text under this here. I'm going to add a text paragraph, and again we're going to go and left align it. And then I'll type this out similar to what we saw in Google Stitch's mockup. I'm going to make this column a little bit smaller and also change this text. Let's go with Montserrat and make this darker, and we'll go with medium. I also want to add a little bit of more spacing on top and leave the bottom spacing at 10. Next, I want to add a form. I can collect the person's first name and their email. I'm going to again hit plus and go to form and select form. Now Zenler out of the box gives you the name, email, and the button. But what we can do is customize it now. I can hit on settings for each of these fields here. For the first name, I can go to settings and just call it first name instead of full name. For this one, we will say test mail. And then the submit button says get instant access now. To change that, I'm going to go to button settings and change it to get instant access now. On the Google Stitch side, the button also has an icon. To add an icon, I can go to settings, icon, and this time I'm choosing to put the icon on the right side after the access now. I'll choose icon right, and you can have icons on both sides. And let's search for arrow, and let's go with this one right here. And I also want to change the button background color to an orange color. Here we go. And I want to make sure the border color is not there. Perfect. There's no border color, and we're good. I'm going to hit save for now. When you hit save for the first time, Zenler is going to show you this and give you the option to change the SEO settings of this funnel page or whatever page you're on. I am going to go and give it the exact same title. That's my funnel. And then you can also put in your meta description and keywords. I can just ask ChatGPT, give me the meta description and keywords. And you only want to do this if you want to be found in the search results. If you're using paid traffic to drive visitors to your landing page, then you might not care much about the meta description and the meta keyword. Here's our meta description, and then here's our meta keywords. I can add that. You can also add a image that when someone shares this or shares the link, that image will show up. For now, we're not going to do that, and I'm going to leave this check to show it in search results. Hit done again, and then hit save again. Now that was a one-time thing. that window is not going to pop again. But if you do want to go there, you can click the drop down here and go to SEO settings, and that will bring you right back to that page. Now, the one thing I haven't done is I haven't made sure that this button actually submits the form. To do that, I'm going to go back to settings and then settings here again. And I'm going to say post submit action should be go to the next step, and the action to be taken when someone presses that button is to submit the form. Now you can also choose the action to open pop-up. And what that does is allows users to see a pop-up window. Let's say you don't want to show this first in email here. Instead, you want someone to click the button, and when they click the button, a pop-up should open in which you can collect their name and email. That's exactly what we just configured. And then you can go and choose the pop-up here. There's a few preset pop-up designs that you can choose from right here. You can do that. I personally just like to have the name and email on the landing page. I'm not adding more friction. I'm going to go back to the button settings, go to settings here and change this to submit form. And then also post submit, I want to send them to the next step, which is the thank you page. All right, for our next section, we're going to create this look here where we have a headline, a text, then we have 3 boxes with icons, maybe a H2 or a H3, which is a headline 2 or 3, and then more text. This is actually pretty easy to create. What I can do first is look for a pre-made block maybe that already has this functionality. If I go to features, let's see if we can find one that has the 3 boxes that have the icons in them. Here we go. This one might do. Let me just go scroll all the way up. I think that would be the best one. And let me show you how you can now customize this. First is this stuff is on the left. We can again go to settings, align this to the left, and same thing with this one, align to left. And always remember to hit that save button so you don't lose your progress. Now we have these boxes and I'm comparing it to the version here on my other monitor, and what I'm noticing is a shadow or this background is white and then this one is a much lighter background. What I want to do is select this box in here and change its background color, make it a little bit lighter to stand out. Let's go back here and see if we can make it lighter. Yeah, let's go with this for now, just so you get the idea of how to do this. And then to get it to perfection, of course, you can play with these at your own pace. And then these are just icons that I can change to match the 3 icons that I have in here. One of them is a stopwatch. Let's go with this. One is a rocket. Let's search for the rocket icon. And then one is hard to tell what it is. I'm just going to leave it as this one here. Then I'm going to change this text to show you how you can easily change all the text and all the things on screen without ever touching a single piece of code. All right, for this one, let's choose a different font. Instead of Montserrat, let's go with Lato, and we can choose the text transform instead of uppercase to none. And I also want to change the text color, and same thing here. This one isn't as dark. We're going to give it a little lighter color and then also change the font. Here we go. Now you can do the same things here. You can change the font. You can change the colors, the text, all of it. You can see this is really easy. I'm not going to spend too much time changing all that stuff. What I wanted to show you is we only want these 3. Now I can select this column here, and you'll see every time you hover over something, you can select that specific thing. And based on what you have selected, Zenler is smart enough to show you a different settings menu every time you click on setting. I want to select this entire row that has my 3 columns in it and just get rid of it. And now I can hit save. Now I have that framework that I was looking for. There's still something here that's taking up too much space, and I don't know. So I can see the top spacing is 40 pixels, but I can't tell what the bottom spacing is. I'm going to hit the settings here and make sure that the top and bottom spacing is enough. Okay, there is no spacing at the bottom. I'm not sure why it's showing this huge white space. Oh, that's just another block. That's why I was showing it. Once I hovered over here, I realized that that spacing was for the next block. We're good here. I might actually add some bottom spacing here as well. And let's save our design. This is with minimal effort. I'm trying to get it to look as close to this landing page as possible. For our next one, we have a bunch of text here. Then we have these boxes. And then on the right side, we have a testimonial box. I'm going to do the same thing here. You can build this from scratch in Zenler, but just for the sake of time and not being here for hours building this marketing funnel landing page, I'm just going to screenshot it. And now what we're going to do is we have our 100% block here within which I want to add a 50-50 layout. And on the right side of this 50%, I want to add that image that I just screenshotted. And then on the left side, I'm going to first add my heading element. And if you remember what we did last time, we want to vertically align this to the top and then also give our background a different color that stands out a bit. Here's my screenshot. And then for my text, I'm going to align it to the left. And then under this text, there's a bunch of boxes. For that, what I'm going to do is add a column layout, and you'll see in a minute why I'm doing this. For this first one, we are going to add an icon. I'm just going to pick any random icon. And then for the second one, we're going to add text and align this text to the left. And the reason why we're doing this is we can achieve this layout right here, where you can see there's a icon, like a check mark icon, and then text. And then the entire box has a different background than this one here. That's what I'm trying to achieve. And in order to do that, what we're going to do is make this into a single line, change this to a check mark, and we can also change the size of this to be a little bit smaller. All right, I've added my text. I want to make sure that my text is left aligned. It's closest to the checkbox. And then what I want to do in this case is make sure that my checkbox is aligned to the right to be the closest to the checkbox. But since this is not text, I'm not seeing the alignment options. This is where you get a little creative and play with these spacings to see if you can get it closer to the line. Now, what I want to do is bring this icon very close to under this heading and then do the same with the text. If I add spacing, it should go more towards the left. Now, since this is not doing it, what you can do is you can add negative spacing and that brings it more to the left. Now this looks aligned, and overall, I want to select this entire thing and give it a different background color. It stands out, and then also give it some rounded corners. It looks like how it was in our Google Stitch. Now that I have my one created and almost perfected, I can now scale it, or I should say clone it, and then you can add as many boxes of these as you want. One thing to note when you mess around with spacings and margins and paddings and all of that fun stuff is to always check your mobile version, because sometimes, as you can see here, the mobile version gets messed up. And if that's the case, you can go back to desktop, select the settings, then go to mobile. And sometimes because this is now messed up, that settings isn't going to show. This is where you want to be careful that any changes you're applying to spacing and margin is equally looking good on mobile as it is on desktop. I'm not going to spend time messing with that. I just wanted to show you how the mobile version works. We're almost to the end of this. Now we have our final call to action section right here, which is a dark background. It has headline, text, button, and then some verification badges that increases your credibility. This should be, again, fairly easy to make in Zenler. We already have our empty block here. To this, I'll add a 100% row, and to that row, I'll add our heading. Then under this heading, I will add some text. Then under that text, we're going to add a button. And then under this button, we will add a 2-column layout within which we'll add more text. And that text will be that guarantee seal almost of authenticity and making people feel like this is a legit business. Then we need to change this to a darker background color. Let's just go dark and change our font color. Now I'm not going to go and type out everything that was in the Google Stitch thing, because you get the idea of how to now edit the. One thing is that this button is too big. I'm going to change the width to normal instead of full width. And this time I can add some padding to the left and the right of the button to make it bigger without actually stretching it, because there's no handlebars here for you to stretch it. And let's add here no credit card required in one column. and then the other one we can write instant delivery. Now this first part is taking a little bit of time because I'm showing you how to design these pages, but the rest of it we are going to fly through and get through this video and show you everything that Zenler has to offer. Thank you for sticking around, and if you have stuck around this long, remember to watch it till the end because I have a special bonus for you at the end of this video. All right, last thing I want to do is change this font color. Let's pick something that's contrasting and lighter in color. And then we will also change the color of this submit button to make it stand out. Now, in this case, we already collected our email here, but on this side, we don't have any email to collect. What I want to do is I want to set the submit action for this button to scroll all the way to the top here. Now, there's a little trick for you to figure out how to do this. I usually just ask ChatGPT, and what I do with ChatGPT, I'll give it the code from here because there is a button ID that I need, and I need to put that button ID on the submit button. I'm going to screenshot this, put it in ChatGPT, and then also put that code in here and then explain to ChatGPT what I want to be done. And my prompt here is find the button ID in the code below that I would like the submit button to smooth scroll to. Hit send. It'll look through the code, get me the button ID. Then I need to go to this submit button settings and ask it to go to that specific section of the page. It's also called as anchor text, and I will link to a YouTube video that David from Zenler has done that shows you how to use anchor text. ID you want to smooth scroll to is this. All right, we can use this, and the ID is attached to the opt-in form container. There is a way to do this, and what you need to do is go to settings for this button and choose the action to go to link, and that link is going to be that ID, which is this here, and you have to put a hashtag in front of it. Now, I don't do anchor texting enough in Zenler to remember how exactly this works, and that is why I'm going to link to the video. But if I did it correctly, the submit button should scroll back up to this window here, which it didn't do. I'm guessing I missed something in that step. Also, while we are in the preview, I noticed that there is a CAPTCHA here. I don't want people to have that extra friction to submit the CAPTCHA in order to submit the form. To disable this, I'm going to go to my page settings, and in my page settings, I'm going to disable CAPTCHA. Once you've done that, hit save, and now our marketing funnel is almost ready. And I say almost ready because we haven't designed the thank you page. However, we don't need to design that because now you get the idea of how designing these pages work. Before we move on to the next step, which is applying tags, email automations, and showing you how to set up the community, I want to make sure that my button actions are set correctly. I'm going to hit the settings button icon again and make sure whenever someone submits this form, they are being sent to the next step. The submit form action is selected, and let's just also add the tag. I already have a tag here called 5-day AI challenge that I can apply. But if this is your first time, you can create a brand new tag on the fly. We are going to call this ChatGPT copywriting. And our tag, for some reason, it automatically adds a blank tag in here. I will remove that. And now our tag has been created. This takes care of one of the steps that I was going to show you, which is how do you apply tags in Zenler. Now that we have done that, let's test this out, and I'm going to refresh this. What should happen now is anytime someone signs up to this funnel, providing their first name and email, they will automatically get tagged with our ChatGPT copywriting tag, and they will be taken to the next step, which is our thank you page, which we haven't really designed. Let me just hit save here, go and show you what that thank you page looks like. And when we started this funnel, I had mentioned I don't want to launch a product or give the freebie at the thank you page. I'm going to delete that. And the reason being, if you start giving away your lead magnets on the thank you page, your spam signups will increase because people do this, right? They find these funnels, they will put a fake email, and then they go to the thank you page to collect whatever it is that they needed, and you are gypped an email. In order to avoid that, what I always recommend is use the Zenler's built-in email marketing automation to send that freebie. You can upload it to Zenler as a PDF and still deliver it to them in an email instead of showing them on that thank you page. I'm going to show you how to do that, and that's where the automation piece comes in. Now remember, this thank you page, I don't want it showing up in search results. I'm going to say don't show, which means I don't need to add the meta description and keywords. I'm just going to hit save. Now our funnel is ready for testing. Let's go back to the opt-in page and preview it out. I'm going to refresh this one and let's give a fake name and email to see what happens. Our Zenler marketing funnel should take us to that next step. All right, I'm going to hit submit. Here's our next step, which was the thank you page in the funnel. And then if we go back and look at leads for this marketing funnel, there should be one lead in here. Here's our lead. Here's the email, and it shows that tag that we asked the funnel to apply. How cool is that? Now, let me go back to our little diagram here. What we're going to do next is look at the email automation and how do you sign them up for a community when they sign up for your free funneling. And this is all built into Zenler. For the email automation piece, I'm going to go back into my funnel, click on automation. And then once you click on automation, simply click on edit automation rules. Now, depending on whether you are in your course automation or your marketing funnel automations, you will notice there are rules here. Right now, I have the email drip sequence rule, which happens on subscribe. But I can also add another rule on subscription, which means whenever someone subscribes to a funnel, I'm on this automation to kick in. If I go to my courses and look at that automation, you will notice the difference is the courses have different triggers. For my course, my triggers are on enroll, on course complete, and on lesson complete. Let's go back to our marketing funnel and show you how the automation works. Now, before I send that automation email with the lead magnet in it, I need to actually upload the lead magnet to my site, my Zenler site. I'm going to go to site and I'm going to go to media library. Zenler almost acts as a Google Drive where you're storing your file. Let's assume that this Academy PDF, actually let's go with this one right here. Week of January 11th is my lead magnet. I'm going to hit share. I'm going to make sure that this drop down says anyone with the link can download this PDF or whatever your lead magnet is. Maybe it's an audio file. And then I'm going to grab the download link. Then I'm going to go to my marketing funnel, go to the automation, and then edit the automation rules. Now I can simply add this email or add that download link to my email. Right now I have 3 out-of-the-box emails that Zenler gives you. I can simply ask ChatGPT to create a brand new email. All right, here's my prompt to ChatGPT. I can get a net new email. That way I can show you how to create an email from scratch. To that, you're going to add action, and that action is going to be send an email. You can see there are a bunch of other actions you can choose here. We're going to stick to send email. And then when you click that, here's that untitled action here. I'm going to just change this to welcome email, and I want to send this after 0 hours from subscription, which means send it immediately. And it's going to come from me and my email address. And then I'm going to put in the subject, which is right here. And you can personalize your subject line by adding their first name. Those are your personalization tags in Zenler. If you're used to any other email marketing platform, such as MailChimp, ActiveCampaign, you're probably used to those email tags, and every system has it a little different. This is how Zenler has it. I just go to personalize and pick it from there instead of typing it out. Then you can simply paste your content in here. Always recommend that that first email is as bland and plain as possible. But Zenler also has the full-blown HTML mode where you can make these email templates your own. I just like to keep it simple. Once I have it, I want to add my link here, and that will be the link from our media library that we copied. I can just highlight this and insert my link in here. Now, if you want to preview this, you can simply click the preview button to see what that email is going to look like before your leads start receiving it. Once you're done, you can send an email to a test email to test it out, but to your personal Gmail preferably, and then hit save changes. Now Zenler is going to ask you, hey, this action is currently paused. Do you want to make it live? I'm going to say, yeah, let's make it live. And then it'll ask, do you want to apply it to your existing leads inside of Zenler? I'm going to say, no, don't send it to the existing leads. That's it. Our action is live. I can delete some of these other canned actions that Zenler gives you out of the box. And just like that, we have set up our email automation. Let's pull over this walkthrough here. We have finished the email automation and we have finished the tagging functionality. Now what we're going to look at is how do you then give them access to a free community. To do that, I'm going to go back to Zenler, go to my communities here, and I already have a bunch of communities created in here. If you don't, you can simply create a net new community by clicking this plus button and adding a community. Let's go ahead and do that from scratch. I'm going to create a community, give it an icon. Let's give it the bubbles icon. And I'm going to keep this a secret community, which means only those who are invited can join. I'm going to make sure only admins can invite, and polling, everything else is good. All right, let's hit continue. Now we have our secret community created. I can click the invite button and grab that invite link. Now, what we can do is go back to our marketing funnel, go to our automation, and within our automation in the welcome email, just type it in. Say, here's the link to that secret community, and insert the link that I just copied for my secret community. And that's it. Okay, now that we have learned the basics on how to build a page, we're going to skip any page building, but now we're going to focus on courses and all the functionality that Zenler has to offer within that course. I have listed out all the different functionalities that we are going to touch on. To do that, let's hop back into the Zenler school. From here, you want to click on courses. If this is your first time here, you will not have any courses in here. I'm going to go create a new course. And just like we did earlier, we can consult ChatGPT or Gemini to come up with a course title and subtitle and summary. All right, I have my prompt here. Now, Zenler does have its built-in AI as well. I just like to use ChatGPT or Gemini because that's what their strengths are, whereas Zenler's strength is creating courses. And I don't know on the back end which model they are using to generate this content. I would rather know a model that I can trust versus Zenler's model. But again, if you don't have access to ChatGPT or Gemini, you can use Zenler's AI model to create your course curriculum. But to actually write the title, subtitle, etc., I am simply going to use Gemini in my Chrome browser. Here's our subtitle, and then this is the course summary. Now you can change all of this later. For now, let's go ahead and create our course. Course is created. Now, before we even get into the curriculum, let me get you familiarized with the course details tab, because Zenler automatically defaults you to the curriculum tab. But on the detail tab here, you will notice a few things. Your course URL gets auto-generated based on the title, but you can easily just type over this and change that URL to whatever you want it to be. As long as that URL doesn't exist in your school already, you'll be able to do that. Then you can also add course instructors. In order to do that, you have to go and make sure that the person you are wanting to add as an instructor has the role of instructor. If I go to my site and search for a person, I have a bunch of test leads and students here. What I can do is, let's say I want to pick this person right here. I can go edit them and I can add a role of instructor, and one person can have multiple roles. And from here, if I hit update, now this Jane Doe is going to start showing up as an instructor. Now Zenler has some extra verification. It's saying in order to add roles, it's going to send me a one-time code, and that code is going to show up in my email. Let me go grab that and then we can continue. Okay, I have added my one-time verification code, and now this student has been updated, or this user has been updated with the student role. You also have a bunch of other roles. You can make someone a site admin. You can make them an affiliate. You can also make them an assistant or a support person. And based on those roles, they get different levels of access in your Zenler school. For now, we're going to add this person as a student. Now, if I go back to my course here, what I'm going to do is just switch tabs. It refreshes itself. And now you can see Jane Doe is showing up as a instructor for this course. As long as a user in your Zenler school has that role of instructor, they will show up under the instructor tab on the course detail page, regardless of which course you're creating. Then you can also choose a category. If you don't have any categories here, you can go and click on manage categories to create a new course category. Then there are a bunch of other checkboxes here, really easy to understand. You can make it featured. You can hide the course so that no one can purchase it. make it secret or make the price hidden. And then you can also enable a certificate for your course. I highly recommend this. When you enable certificates for your course, you can choose from pre-built options, or if you know how to create an SVG file, you can create your own certificate and upload it in here as a custom certificate. Then you can also set how many people can enroll in this course. Maybe you are launching a cohort of 20 people and that's the max you want. You can do that. And this is one thing I actually don't like, which is show course progress between lessons. Every time someone completes a lesson, it's going to show their progress. And if you have hundreds of lessons, that can get kind of unwieldy. I typically uncheck that box. Let's update this. Now on the right side here, you can also design your course cover image. And what's cool is Zenler integrates with Canva. You can design it within Canva without actually logging into Canva. If you click this button, it opens up a pop-up, and that pop-up allows you to design that design in Canva and automatically import it into Zenler. If I just click on any random one here and say publish, this will now get set as my thumbnail in Zenler, and Zenler has a deep integration with Canva to make this possible. And just like that, I was able to design a course thumbnail using Canva. Finally, you can also show the rating of your course on the course card. Now, this will typically come in handy when students start reviewing your course. For now, I typically just skip this. Okay, let's hit update again. Now that you're familiar with the course detail page, let's go to the curriculum page. This is where you're going to add content to your course. Now, let me show you how Zenler AI works. So on the right here, I have asked Gemini to give me a course curriculum for this course, but in Zenler, you don't need to prompt anything. You simply click this little icon and that's going to create an AI outline of your course. Now you still need to add content in here, but it's going to give you an outline. And if you like this outline, you can simply use it, or if you don't like it, you can replace it with something else. This one inserts it, this one replaces it. So if I say replace, it's going to create a completely new outline. And if you like that one, you can insert that into your curriculum. And what that looks like, here's ours from Google Gemini. You can compare the two, see which one you like, but just wanted to show you both these options. We have our quote unquote curriculum ready. And you can see this is what it looks like. I think it did a pretty good job. It has your introduction, then advanced prompt engineering, brand, and it's all going off of your course title, maintaining brand voice. This is all part of copywriting, right? And that's what Zenler's integrated AI understands. And based on its understanding of that topic, it's created the outline for your curriculum. Great. Now, how do we actually go about adding content to your curriculum? For that, we're going to head back over to our nifty map here, because there are some modules that I definitely want to show you. And these are those modules that I want to show you, including, yes, gamification, which is amazing. Let's go back and start with adding some basic stuff into the modules, and then we'll progress to adding some of those more advanced things. And to add anything, what you want to do is click on a lesson. These ones are called modules that are kind of like a tree level, and then the little branches under the tree are the lessons. If I click on one of these lessons, I have all of these options to choose from. Let's go with one of the most basic ones, which is video. Now, when you click on video, you can drop your video file. You can embed your video from Vistia or YouTube or Loom or wherever you're hosting your video file, or you can go to your existing video library. I already have videos in my video library. Let's pick one of those. And just like that, I have added a video lesson to my Zenler course. Next, let's add an audio lesson. Again, same concept. You can either upload or go to the audio library and select a audio file. Now, what if you want to add multiple files? Let's say along with this video file, you want to add a PDF that is maybe a workbook that goes along with the video. You can simply click on the second thing you want to add, go to your library and select it. And similarly, if you also want this PDF to be downloadable, you can click on downloads, do the same thing, go to your media library, look for that exact same file and add it. And now it becomes a downloadable PDF along with a viewable PDF. Now, as you're building the course, maybe you want to see what this is shaping out to be. In order to do that, you can click the preview button and you can choose to preview course curriculum as a student. This will show you what your curriculum looks like if you are logged in as a student. And since we just added that video and download file, we can actually go and check it out. And for the students, there are little icons to give them clues on what that next lesson is going to look like, whether it's going to be a video file, an audio file, or just a plain text file. Here's our video uploaded already in Zenler, ready to play. And if I go down here, here's our PDF file. Now, Zenler has its own built-in PDF, which comes with some protection, which means no one can download this PDF unless, of course, they screenshot it or you provide them with an actual download. Each lesson can have multiple file types. It just depends on what your needs are for your students. We've added a video file. We've added an audio file. Now let's go to the little bit more advanced, which is giving your students an assignment. For that, you can go to a lesson and choose the assignment option. As the name suggests, this is you giving your students an assignment that they have to submit. Maybe this lesson was, tell me 5 things you learned about AI copywriting. They will be given this assignment, and as a student, they will need to go in and submit that assignment, and then you get the results back. Let's give our assignment a title. I've given it a title and a description, and then you have a menu here if you want to change this. Maybe you want to make it bold, or you want to change the font color, font size. You can do all of that fun stuff in here. Play around with this editor and get used to it if you're going to be using assignments. Now comes the fun part. How do you want your students to submit this assignment? Do you want a simple text input where they go in and type the answers? Or do you want a file upload? Or do you want both? And if it is a file upload, what's the max file size that you want your students to be able to upload? And then you can also add reference materials for your students. Maybe this is a mathematical lesson or a science lesson, and you want to give them some reference or whatever it is, right? You want to give them some reference material. This is where you will upload your reference. I've added this image as a reference material, but you can again add any file. Then you can also check this box if you would like to, as a teacher, as an instructor, approve this assignment, which means your students will not be able to proceed from this lesson till you have gone in and approved the assignment. I'm going to leave that unchecked. I'm going to leave the file upload unchecked and just leave this as a text input. And now we have added our assignment. Let's go back in our preview mode and then go to our third lesson. And now you'll see the icon has changed. Originally, the icon was this icon right here, and now it's the assignment icon. And this is what that assignment looks like on the student's side. Here's our assignment title, then the description that we filled in here, and then the reference file that is available for them to download. And as you can see, it's not showing a preview of the image. If you are uploading images, make sure you name them explicitly. Your students know what is it that they are about to download. And then this is where they would type their answer. Now, because I am in preview mode, I might not be able to submit the assignment. Yep, because you're in preview, you cannot submit the assignment. I will have to log in as a student to submit the assignment. And that brings me to the very important part of Zenler or any course platform is, as you're building this out, make sure you have a test student. You can test every single step before you go live. Now, obviously, perfection is the enemy of done. You don't want to chase perfection, but make sure you test out at least the student flow, and you can always fix the kinks as you go along. Students are very forgiving. They're just there to learn, right? They want your knowledge bottled up, concentrated, delivered to them. They will be forgiving of little hits and misses here, but overall, just make sure that you test out the flow that a student is going to go through. All right, let's continue. So far, we have looked at adding an assignment. Hopefully, you know by now how to add all other kind of content. What I want to do next is show you how to create a quiz and add that as a lesson inside of Zenler. With that, let's hop back over to my Zenler school. I'm going to click on one of these pre-built AI lessons here, and then this time I'm going to choose a quiz. Let's give our quiz a title. And just like we did earlier by creating our curriculum, we can use Zenler's AI to create our quiz. And we can also choose whether this quiz is graded or not. And if it is graded, what's the passing percentage? And similar to assignments, do we want our students to pass the quiz before they can move on to the next lesson? Obviously, this won't work if quiz is the last lesson in your course. I'm going to choose not to enforce that, and I'm also going to leave the graded checked at 60%. And then let's create the quiz with AI. Once you click that button to create the quiz with AI, this is where you will be given this window here, and you have the option to choose multiple choice questions, random questions, multiple response questions, or true or false. Let's go with true or false, and maybe we put 3 questions in there. Then you just put your topic. Here's my topic, and let's keep this difficulty level easy, and I can say generate quiz. And now Zenler has created the quiz for me. This in itself is very involved. I'm not going to touch every single feature of a quiz, but know that there is a welcome page that you can enable and disable. And the welcome page works similar to a Zenler editor page. Here you can change some of the stuff. You can simply hype over here if you want. Play around with that, and you can turn it on and off right here. Then let's look at our questions. All 3 of these questions were true or false that were created by Zenler's AI. Then you can add more questions. Here we have a bunch of other questions you can add. Let's try a multiple choice question, and you can continue to add these questions. Once you have enough questions in your quiz, you can go in and choose which one is the right answer. So in this case, I can say false is the right answer, not true, which means when your students take this quiz, if they choose false, that's going to be the wrong answer because you have chosen true as the correct answer by placing this checkbox or little check mark there. You can also continue to generate questions using AI. If I click this here, I can add my topic, choose multiple choice, and maybe I want only 3 more questions, and these all 3 should be multiple choice. And this time I can choose a different topic. This time my topic is Hemingway's rules of copywriting. I want multiple choice, or I can just say, give me random. Give me a multiple choice, throw in a true or false. I don't care. Let's give it a medium difficulty and generate questions. Now Zenler's AI will generate 3 more random questions, and this could be anywhere from multiple choice to true or false. I don't know. This one is multiple choice, and you can see the question type right here. It says multiple choice, and right now the question is, according to Hemingway's rules, let's fix this, of copywriting, what is the recommended length of sentences? And it's given 3 options, but you can add more options if you want, and you can also choose which is going to be the right answer. I can also delete options. And then let's look at the next one, also a multiple choice question. And then the last one is a true or false question. Now, as you're going through this, you must have noted this blue theme. You can click here on the edit theme icon to change the theme color, to change the theme font, to kind of match what your branding is. So you can change that background image here, or you can choose a different one from your library, or you can upload a brand new image. You can also change the background color. Let's go with a darker color, and it's save. Once you save that theme, it'll get updated throughout your Zenler quiz. You can also change the question colors or the description colors and the option colors as well. Maybe I want the options to be a little bit lighter, and you can see as I change that slider, it's going into effect. Now the background color isn't showing because I currently have a background image. Were I to remove that background image, then that background color will overlay. If I was to just delete that, you will see the background color is showing. I can also change that background color according to the text and the font. Your quiz takers can easily read these choices. Play around with that. In advance, you can also enable the progress bar. Once you have enabled the progress bar, you can choose what style it should be. And then in general, you have a bunch of other things you can change. And you can also change the language. And with language, Zenler is actually talking about the text for the button. Instead of start, you can change it to begin. And don't forget to hit the save button. One of the most amazing and also complex features of quizzes is branching. Definitely watch the video on branching that David has done from Zenler, and I will also link to one of my videos that goes in detail on how quizzes work. I'll link that. You can check that out. Know that you can enable branching, which will kind of guide your students from one question to another. Example would be if you're taking a quiz for people with pets and you have a different set of questions for people who have dogs versus those who have cats, based on which pet they say they have, you can branch them into different categories. Super powerful, super awesome functionality. And then after that, here you have your thank you page and then also your results page. And all these results get saved on the back end of Zenler in reports, which we will touch on later. For now, our quiz is ready. I am going to go and save this quiz. And once I've saved it, I can go back. And then that takes me back to the curriculum. We looked at quiz. Now for the not complex stuff, we will look at how to add a live class to your curriculum. And this is just amazing. First of all, you don't need your Zoom subscription. With Zenler, you get that subscription built into the price. You don't have to pay an extra subscription for Zoom. I'll cover more of that towards the end on the pricing window. But what I want to show you here is how to add a live class. Now, this is only on the paid plans, not on the free plan. What you want to do is click on live, then click on live class. Once you click on live class, you can create a class or choose an existing one. Let's go ahead and create a brand new class. I've added a class in the future. Now you can make this a single session or add a recurring session, which means it'll happen every other week, what have you, right? Even in a single session, you can add multiple schedules. Maybe someone cannot take this one right here. I can give them another option, and this time we can choose a different time. You can add a single session, but still offer multiple classes for that single session. You can also change the number of registrants, not to be confused with the number of participants. You can have max 300 registrants, but the participants could be less than that. I can max this out to 300. That's because I'm on the pro plan. I get up to 300 registrants. And I'm going to use Zenler's integrated Zoom, and we'll set this up for 2 hours, and we're going to keep the visibility to courses. Actually, my course isn't published yet. For now, I'm going to keep it public and enable automatic cloud recording and then hit next. Now you can also add a image for this live class. For now, I'm just going to hit next. Next, Zenler is asking me to choose a theme as if I was going to promote this live class, which you can also do with Zenler's built-in live webinars, live classes, which are completely standalone and don't have to be connected to a course. I'm just going to pick a random page and then hit finish. Now what's cool is this live class in itself can have a pricing. If you're running webinars and driving those webinars maybe through paid ads, you can price this out so that you can charge for those webinars. You can also do the automations similar to what we looked at when we looked at marketing funnels. And then you can look at who are your registered users. And then eventually, once your live class or webinar is over, you can get that cloud recording right here. Going back to our live class details, there's a direct join link. If you want to skip people from registering for this live class, you can send them to this direct join link, or you can send them to a registration URL if you're collecting emails in return for your webinar. What we are going to do is option number 3, which is adding this live class to my course curriculum. Let's pick another random lesson here and then click on live. When you click on live, what happens is you can either create a new live class, which we already did, or you can choose from an existing one, which is this one right here. That's the only upcoming one I have, advanced copywriting with ChatGPT. Now, once you have added this live class, what happens is I can go and preview the course access page as a student, and Zenler let that student know that, hey, there's a live class coming up, which usually shows up here when you're a few days out. But because that live class was months out, let me just show you what it looks like inside the curriculum. I've opened my curriculum and this is what it looks like. For your student, they can pick one of these 2 time slots. And once they've selected their time slot, all they need to do is click on book my spot. This live class that we just created is only available inside the course because even though we have the direct join link and the registration link, you're not really sharing that out with anyone. You're simply adding that live class to your Zenler course as a lesson. This is one functionality that is super powerful that I haven't seen other platforms use before. I'm really excited about this functionality. All right, our live classes is done. Let's assume that at this point, our course is ready for publishing. We're going to hit gamification towards the end. But before we publish our course, we have a few other steps. We have our sales page, we have our checkout page, and then we also have a bunch of these things that I want to show you. In order to do that, let's go back to our course. And what I'm going to do is go directly to pricing. We'll come back to pages in a minute, but go directly to pricing and add a pricing plan. We can publish the code. Let's go ahead and click on add price plan. Now, if you haven't done your Stripe integration or payment gateway integration yet, you will not be able to choose a pricing plan to publish your course. And Zenler will guide you through those steps when you are trying to publish your course. I'm going to say this is a one-time purchase, and you can also choose your course currency. For me, it's USD, and let's say this is going to be a $197 course. Now you have to give your pricing plan a name and description, and this is how it will show up in Stripe or whatever payment gateway you're using for selling your course within Zenler. I'm going to name this ChatGPT for copywriting. I'm going to leave the description blank, and the buy now button can say buy now. Sure, that's fine. You can add bullets to your course pricing plan, and what happens is these bullets will show up on the dynamic pricing block. I'm going to add some bullets to show you how it works. I'm prompting Gemini to give me those 5 bullets, and while it's doing that, you can also put in your bullet point title. I'm going to keep it simple and say what's included, and here's what's included. Simply going to copy and paste some of the high level bullet points. I'm not going to spend too much time reading these. You get the idea of what you need to do to provide bullet points for your courses. Then you can also choose for the pricing plan if you want to set an enrollment limit on the number of people that can enroll for this pricing plan. You can also set the availability. Maybe you are doing a special launch between X date and Y date. You can set that availability that this pricing plan is only available between this date and this date. And each course can have more than one pricing plan. Then you can also set tiers. This is one of my favorite functionalities, and tiers, I think of it as silver, gold, platinum level kind of thing. Maybe in the silver level, they get access to all the lessons, but not the live class. If that was the case, I can just choose everything, but uncheck that live class that we added. And maybe gold gets the live class, and then premium or platinum might get access to your community as well. That's how I would use tiers. For each pricing plan, you would pick a different tier. If this was my silver pricing plan, maybe I'll select everything except for live class. Then I'll go add another pricing plan, call it gold, another pricing plan, call it platinum. This way you don't have to clone your course 3 times to give different levels of access. You can have the course created once and use tiers to figure out what's that access level you want to give within the Zenler course. Finally, you can also choose a tax category, whether this is a physical, a tax exempt, or digital. This is only for your back end purposes for when you're reporting income within your country. And as far as community goes, you can also connect a community with this course. And then you can also make this the most popular plan. Let's make this the most popular plan and hit finish. And then let me show you how you can also add a payment plan, which is not to be confused with a membership, aka subscription. For a payment plan, they can choose if they don't want to pay in that one lump sum of $197, maybe you give them a 2 or 3 payment option. Everything else remains the same as far as, let's say I want them to pay $67 instead of the $197, but I want them to pay that 3 times each month, once a month, and that's why the billing period is monthly. Or you can play with these options and put your own custom options in here. And you can also set an additional fee. Maybe each time they pay this, you get the 2% charge. Whereas if they were to go with the one-time plan, you would have got that 2% charge only once. That's an additional $15, let's say. You can add that one-time fee of $15 to cover those 2% transaction fees that your payment gateway is going to charge you. Again, you can give it a name. We can say the exact same thing. This time I'll call it FlexPay. That stands out a bit and I can see internally what did that mean. I'm going to leave the description blank. Buy now button is fine. And this time I won't add bullets or anything else. And I'm going to hit finish. Now that we have our course pricing, we can publish the course. But before we do that, I want to show you where the heck did those bullet points go. And when we check that price plan box, which says make this the most popular plan, what happens with that? For that, we are going to head next to the one tab that I didn't want to show you quite yet, and that is pages. Whenever you create a course, out of the box, Zenler drops 4 pages for every course, and that's it. Sales page, the checkout page, this is where you're going to collect the money, the thank you page, and the course access page. First, I want to show you how to add that pricing plan to your sales page. Before we even go and edit the sales page, you can go and preview it to see what it looks like out of the box. Zenler keeps it very basic out of the box, but this is fully customizable as you saw in the marketing funnel. And I will also link you to some videos that walk you through the page builder to show you how you can build beautiful pages in Zenler. I do have a library of over 100 pages pre-built. I will link that in the description. If you want to shortcut building pages in Zenler, you can grab them from my library, copy paste them in your Zenler school, and you're off to the races. With that, what I want to show you here is out of the box, Zenler adds the course curriculum to your school sales page. Now, in my case, it says template because this is my template club where I sell Zenler template. But in your case, it will say lesson instead of template. And how I was able to change that, if we digress for a second, is you can go to site. From site, you can go to language, and within language, if I want to search for template, I'll just hit search. I change the start button to view template. I change the next lesson to next template, and I change the take me to the lesson to take me to this template. That's how I was able to make those changes. Back to our course sales page. This is a dynamic curriculum block that feeds directly from your course curriculum. Now, one cool thing here, this is similar to what Udemy and the big course platforms do like Coursera. If you want parts of your curriculum viewable for the students that they can preview and get a taste of what your course is about, highly recommend that. In order to do that, you can go to a lesson. Let's go to any one of these lessons here. Let's maybe pick this one. I can enable free preview. When I enable free preview, what happens is now, without logging in, these students will be able to preview that course lesson. And when I click preview here, it's going to bring them into the curriculum area, keep everything else locked, but show them a preview of what this lesson is about. If they try another lesson, they will have to enroll to unlock that lesson. And that enrollment will bring them back to the course sales page from which they can click the enroll in course button. Now that's the next thing I want to show you. Out of the box, Zenler programs this button to automatically scroll down to your pricing table, which is also dynamically fed into Zenler based on those bullet points that we added. Remember, we had checked this as the most popular plan and we added these bullets. All of that shows up here, and this also shows up on your checkout page. If I click this buy now button, it will show up on your checkout page right here. Those same bullets, but this time it includes the title which we had added, which said what's included. And on your checkout page, we have both of our pricing plans showing, and it clearly explains how much they're going to pay. This is the recommended plan. That's a one-time payment plan. And if they choose this, it changes to the 3 payments of $67. Now, when you're publishing your course, I highly recommend that you at least keep the course price for $1 to test it out. Don't do it free. Do for $1. That way you can see what that actual charge looks like on your credit card statement. That way, if your students ever have any questions, you'll be able to answer them. Back to our sales page. It is very basic, out-of-box sales page, but it doesn't have to be like that. Instead of showing you how to design the sales page, which you already know now, if you watch how I design the marketing funnel, I will show you what a potential sales page can look like in Zenler. These are some of the pre-built pages that I have in that template library of mine. This is what a sales page could look like in Zenler. This is built completely using Zenler's drag and drop builder. It's very flexible. What I do want to show you is what are some of the dynamic blocks you can add to your sales page. Let's go back to pages, edit your page. And once I go to page editor, this is similar to what we did in our marketing funnel. I can click the plus button. And once I click the plus button, I can see all of the blocks that are available to me by choosing all blocks. But if I want to choose just the dynamic blocks, I can actually type dynamic in here, and that will show me all of the dynamic blocks that are available to me. This courses block is best suited to show all of the available courses if you have more than one course and you want to show all of them on your homepage. If you're on a course sales page, you don't want to distract students with or potential students with these all courses blocks. Then you have your course title dynamic block. I typically just skip this and build my own. And we saw the course curriculum block that was already showing on my sales page, but there's also a collapsed style curriculum block. If you have a super large curriculum, you can imagine that your sales page is going to be super duper long. Zenler also provides you with a collapsed curriculum block that your students can expand. Now, one thing to note here with dynamic blocks, when you click on them, your settings are going to be limited because that's the nature of a dynamic block. If you mess it up too much, then it won't be dynamic anymore. That is why Zenler controls what are the settings you can change on a dynamic block. If this is your first time using Zenler, I highly highly recommend you go through every single one of these blocks just to get used to what other kind of blocks, dynamic or static, that Zenler gives you. And there's a lot. There are a lot of blocks for you to choose for. If you don't like the dynamic pricing box, you can pick one of these pre-built pricing tables that are better looking, I would say, but they are not dynamic. Just keep that in mind. Once you click that block, it will insert itself at that plus button where you had the next insertion point. Now, one thing to note here, once you add a non-dynamic pricing block, you want to go to your button settings and ensure that that button is going to your checkout page by grabbing the checkout page link and putting it in here. Let's hit save. And just like we did with our marketing funnels, when you hit save, it's going to pop up this SEO settings window. I'm going to hit save again. And that's a one-time thing for any new page that you create in Zenler, and then it doesn't show up again. If you want it to show up again, you can go to this drop down here and click on SEO setting. Now that you know what your sales page looks like and what it could look like, because I showed you one of the templates, next is to go to our checkout page, which I can navigate to right from here. From the checkout page, what I want to do is show you the order bump, the upsell, terms and conditions, and then cart abandonment. We already looked at the dynamic curriculum block. I'm going to mark that done. We also looked at live classes. Let's just mark that done. Now, the reason why I have this marked here is because I want to add weekly live classes as a order bump. This is the great thing about Zenler is unlike having to use a separate checkout cart for order bumps, it's all built into Zenler. Now you can see on my checkout page, here are my two pricing plans, which we also viewed as a preview mode. But what you see now in the non-preview editing mode is this option to add a order bump. Now let's say that I want to add weekly classes to my checkout page as an order bump. I can simply click on add order bump. Now, one caveat is you can only add a course as an order bump. If you have those weekly live classes, you would need to create them as a course. Let's just choose this as an example. Let's pretend that this is our weekly classes course. Then you have to choose a pricing plan. Let's pick Thursdays. And then if you have any coupons that you'd like to apply, you can choose that. You can see as soon as I chose the pricing plan, it's adding this $10 right here. If I choose a different pricing plan, this will update if there was a different pricing plan connected to it. Maybe we go to this course and choose this plan. Now it adds $97 because that specific pricing plan is $97. If there are any coupons in your school, those can apply as well. This was a 99% off coupon. That brings it down to 97 cents. Maybe I want this coupon that is 100% off, or maybe I don't want to apply any coupons. So that's how order bumps work. I will link to a video that talks more about order bumps in depth. Know that you can completely change the title, the description, the checkbox, and if you use ChatGPT and you're comfortable with it, you can also do further manipulation of this checkout page. I won't recommend it because it is dynamic in nature. If you feel comfortable tinkering with it, create a dummy course to do all your tinkering. Or what's cool is Zenler gives you more control. If you go into page settings, you can add additional CSS for the header or the entire page. And you can also add tracking codes. And these are usually your metapixels, your Google tag, all of that you can add here. There's another place to add this stuff, which is in your site, global settings. So in the global includes, you can add your metapixel, your Google tag manager, and that will apply globally to your entire Zenler site. So you can see my order bump is ready here. Now, the other thing I want to show you is upsells. So order bump happens on the checkout page and then upsells happen on the thank you page. So imagine that your student has just purchased the course and maybe they even purchased the order bump. They are at an all-time high. They are excited to get in, and this is the best time to give them one more offer. And for that, we can go to the checkout page. On your checkout page, this is what it looks like out of the box, another dynamic page. This is when they click continue to course, Zenler will show them a pop-up, ask them for their passwords, set up their student account, and then they can get into the course access page. But this is your chance to get that extra dollar and increase your cart value even more by adding an upsell. So again, I can click on edit upsell, choose another course here, and then choose the pricing plan for that. And it automatically shows the pricing plan and this add to order button. And if there's a coupon that I would like to apply, I can apply that coupon as well. And if you do this, then you can delete this second one here. If you ever want that one back, you can simply click on add new block and then search for dynamic and search for that dynamic thank you block and add it back to your thank you page. If for some reason that doesn't work, there's always version history and you can go and restore a previous version of your page. Let's just hit save. Now our upsell is ready. And what's cool is when they click add to order, this is simply going to charge their card that they've already provided, and that makes your job much easier. And it'll also give them access to that course. So Zenler takes care of all the back end stuff, so you don't have to stitch 10 different systems together. So with that, we've looked at upsell. Now this weekly live class and month-on-month support was just examples of what that upsell and order bump could look like. Next, I want to show you terms and conditions, because this was a highly requested feature by everyone who uses Zenler. And what I mean by the terms and conditions, if we go to the checkout page, so let's wait for this page to load. I want to go to the checkout page and hit preview. You will notice that there are terms and conditions here, which are completely customizable. It's a page within Zenler. You can go and change this to your liking, to your niche, but there is no checkbox for the students to check when they are on this page. So there is a way you can set that up. You would want to go to site settings, advanced settings, and enable the terms and conditions checkbox. Now, if I go back to that same checkout page, let's preview it. Now you will notice that there is a checkbox that they have to agree to the terms and conditions. So thank you, Zenler team, for providing this. And similar to this, cart abandonment was another highly requested feature. And how this works is, let's say I am on this page here and I've provided you with my email, but then I bounce because I changed my mind last minute, something happened. I'm like, nah, I don't want this anymore. This is your chance to get them back with cart abandonment email. So again, site settings, you want to click on emails, and here you can enable send cart abandonment emails. And then you can choose how quickly do you want to send those cart abandonment emails. Depending on which country you are, read the rules about GDPR, can spam, sending these emails, and make that decision for yourself. But note that that functionality exists in Zenler. So we have covered that. Next, what I would like to show you is bundles and drip content, and then we'll move on to gamification. If we go back to our course, the drip functionality works within courses individually and also for bundles. And how this works is you can enable drip schedule. So if you don't want your students to Netflix style binge all the content, you can enable drip, and then you can choose when do you want to release these lessons. Maybe lesson 2 is 1 day after enrollment, lesson 3 is 2 days after enrollment, lesson 1 is 0 days after enrollment, so on and so forth. And for each of these, you can set custom notification emails that will automatically go out to the students, letting them know that a new lesson has just dropped. I typically like to give my students binging style so they can consume the content at their pace. So I'm going to disable this drip content. Now to create bundles, you're going to again go back to courses, click on bundles, and here you can create a net new bundle. So I already have one created, and in this bundle, you can add content. So I already have 4 courses added here. So maybe I want to choose the order a little differently. I can add one more course. So I can go down here, select a course, add it to my bundle. So all those courses get added. Now, if I want to see what this looks like from a student's perspective, I can click preview bundle access page as a student, and Zenler will show you a preview of what those bundles look like. Here are those 5 courses, and I can, as a student, simply click access now to go access that course within the bundle. So I repeat that it is very important that you test this as a student and test out the flow. Now, bundle pages are similar to your course pages. Pricing is also similar. So is drip, and so is automation and student. Everything else is the same. The only difference is a bundle is a collection of courses. So let's mark our bundles done now that you understand how bundles work. And then lastly, there's gamification. And I shouldn't say lastly because there's a lot more, but gamification in itself can take hours. So I am not going to go too deep into gamification. However, I will link to a video that I have covered gamification in depth. So if this is your first time on the gamification tab, you would want to enable gamification. Then there'll be a video showing you how it works. And once you have watched that video, you can go and configure your levels and your points. You can go up to 10 levels and you can choose how many points they unlock at each level. The point system works under point configuration. So you can choose how often do they get points, in what do they have to do to get the points? For example, if you have a community, you can choose whether they get points when their post receives comments. Now, this can't be the other way around, right? You don't want people to receive points for commenting and liking because then they can abuse the system. But you want to give them points if the questions that they're asking are worthy of points. So if people start liking their questions in the community, that's an indicator of a healthy community, and that should be rewarded with points. So you can play with these point systems. You can give them 700 points, whatever you want. So just go through this, go through my video on gamification so you better understand it, and then go through all these tabs. You can see that at certain points, certain courses unlock. Let's say you want to add a course unlock at level 9. You can hit edit and choose what happens at this level and choose which course gets unlocked at that level and simply hit apply, and your new change has gone into effect. There's also blogging. I will link to a video that talks in depth about blogging. This in itself could also take hours. So much is under the hood. There's pages if you want to create individual pages. So we had looked at terms and conditions earlier. If I search for terms, here's my terms and conditions page. So you can go and create individual pages on top of your course sales pages, your marketing funnel pages, your live webinar pages. You have unlimited pages to create. There is no limit as to the number of pages you can create in Zenler. There's branding. This is where you'll control your logo, your colors, your fonts. All of that is controlled here. Coupons to create coupons for your courses. Taxes, if you're in a country where you want to keep track of taxes, you can set those up here. Under integrations, you have your payment gateway integrations. You have your email marketing software integrations. You have Google Calendar, Facebook Pixel. All of that is here. Go through all these settings. There is so much under the hood. Highly recommend you check it out. So I think that covers most of it. Now we're going to move on to how much do you pay for all of this. So let's look at pricing. All right, so as of this recording, this is what Zenler pricing looks like. I highly recommend their recommended plan, which is $97 a month. And here's why. No matter which of these paid plan you choose, there is no transaction fee. I came from Teachable, which was charging me 3% transaction fee for every course I sell, plus an additional 2% to enable back office, which was their way of allowing you to use PayPal. This was a while ago. This was 6 years ago. That's how long I've been with Zenler. And so there's no transaction fees. There's unlimited courses, at least on the Pro plan. So I'm going to be talking mainly about the Pro plan. You have unlimited courses. You get 3 separate schools for completely 3 separate niches if you want to teach in a completely different niche. Or maybe you can use one of those sites for your spouse, for your friend, what have you. But know that the login is always through the main site. So only do it with maybe someone in your family. Get unlimited students on top of unlimited courses. Then you have a number of emails you can send per month. That's 100,000 emails. That means you can send 25,000 emails a week. That's a lot of emails. And then you have all of this other stuff. Now, all of this for $97 a month, but there is more. So some of the benefits that I look at is now you don't need a Zoom webinar subscription. You don't need a subscription for a community software, or you don't need to host your community on Facebook. You are going to have no transaction fees except for your payment gateway transaction fees. So Zenler is not taking a cut on top of whatever Stripe or PayPal or Razorpay is charging you. It also includes the marketing funnels, which in itself in the past has been a separate software. And gamification, I don't know of many platforms that include gamification on top of all this. And we already talked about email marketing. Now, one thing that Zenler doesn't give you that I give you is 100 plus pre-made template pages. So let me quickly show you what that looks like and how to get that. So here's my template club. I have a bunch of these. I have a bunch duplicated. So let me find the correct one. And let's go to the curriculum for this one in preview. So this is how you would set up a course. So you can see I have added a text here, then a image. So just to give you an idea of how I've set up this as a lesson. But all of these templates that you're seeing here are included and the library keeps growing. I'm going to start the 2026 templates. Now that module in 2025 is only showing 2 because I distributed them in all these categories, so it's easier for people to find these templates. So all of these templates are included in your purchase of your Zenler subscription. The catch is you have to purchase it through my affiliate link. And if I taught you something in this video, I would highly encourage you to use my affiliate link that I will put in the description. It doesn't cost you anything. I give you all this knowledge for free, and all I ask in return is use my affiliate link, and that gives me commission, but keeps your price the exact same, and I get to give you something in return, which is those 100 plus templates that you get for free. If you want to check out the sales page, I will link to the sales page for that if you're already a Zenler user. So that is a $200 value that you will get for free, because those templates I sell as part of one-time purchase of $200. So just know that that will be included, so you don't have to pay the $200 if you end up getting your Zenler subscription through my link. With that, thank you so much for watching. If you have stuck around till the end, please tell me what is the next thing you want to learn about Zenler, and I'd be happy to make a video. Thank you again, and keep creating.